This season, we are translating invisible pressure into visible patterns. And today's pattern is one I think a lot of high capacity leaders are going to feel before they fully understand it. Performance as armor. And here's the revelation. Achievement often becomes protection long before it becomes success. And today I want to take that one layer deeper because performance as armor, it's not just about achievement. It's not just about ambition. It's not just about success, but it is about protection. It is about the parts of us that learned it was safer to be impressive than exposed, safer to be capable than vulnerable, safer to be needed than known, safer to be admired than fully seen. And if we're not careful, the performance that once protected us becomes the very thing that keeps us at arm's length from the people, the work, the relationships, and the life that we say we actually want. That is the pattern. Performance becomes armor. Armor creates distance, and distance becomes the culture. So let's go there for a moment, shall we? Because a lot of leaders think they are simply driven. We hear things all the time. People say things like, I'm ambitious. I have high standards. I care about excellence. I just want things done well. And sometimes that is true. But sometimes what we call ambition is not ambition. Sometimes it is protection wearing ambition's clothes. Sometimes it is the wound learning how to look impressive. Sometimes it is the nervous system saying, if I can just stay ahead, stay useful, stay excellent, stay needed, maybe criticism will not touch me. Maybe rejection won't find me. Maybe failure won't expose me. And maybe no one will notice the parts of me that I am still trying to hide. That is not ambition. That is armor. And armor always has a job, right? Its job is to create distance between you and what feels dangerous. It creates distance from criticism, from judgment, from disappointment, distance from vulnerability, from being misunderstood, and really distance from being fully seen. And at first, armor can feel like wisdom. It can feel like strength, strategy. It can even feel like maturity, right? Because for many people, armor did begin as protection. Your armor helped you survive something, helped you endure something. It likely even helped you navigate rooms where softness was not safe. It's It helped you function when falling apart was not an option. It helped you become dependable when life around you felt unpredictable. It helped you achieve when being ordinary felt too dangerous. So I'm not here to shame the armor, but I am here to name it. Because the danger is not that we put armor on. The danger is that we forget we are wearing it. At some point, what began as protection became personality. What began as survival becomes identity. What began as a mask becomes the face. And because the armor worked, because it helped us succeed, because it helped us perform, because it helped us lead. Nobody questions it. Not the team, not the clients, not the board, not the family, not even us, right? Nobody questions it. In fact, people applaud the armor. They even promote the armor. They reward the armor. They depend on the armor. And we've heard it all before. They call it excellence. They call it strength. They call it leadership. They call it professionalism. And meanwhile, the human being underneath is disappearing one polished performance at a time. That is the hidden cost. Performance as armor. Performance as armor does not usually look broken. In fact, it looks accomplished. It looks responsible, composed even. It usually looks pretty productive. It looks like the person who always knows what to do. You know, that person who can handle it, the person who does not need much, the person who keeps going no matter what, the person everyone trusts because they never seem to fall apart. But here's the part we don't say enough. Sometimes the people who look the strongest are not always the most free. Sometimes they are just the most practiced at hiding where it hurts. And that hiding becomes expensive because armor does not know how to be selective. The only thing armor does is, well, it doesn't block just pain. It also blocks intimacy. It blocks trust and it blocks collaboration. It blocks receiving. It blocks your ability to rest and it blocks the truth. Armor does not know the difference between danger and connection. So it creates distance from both. And that distance shows up everywhere. It shows up in personal relationships when people can admire you, but they can't always access you. It shows up in leadership when people respect you, but do not fully feel safe with you. And it shows up in communication when everything sounds polished, but nothing really feels connected. And it shows up in culture when everyone learns how to perform being okay. Oof, that's a tough one. Because this is where the pattern moves from personal to organizational. Because leaders do not just carry patterns. Leaders transmit patterns, not always through what they say. Sometimes it's through what they model, what they tolerate, what they reward, what they avoid. It's through what they normalize. Here's what I know. Culture is not just what an organization says it values. Culture is what gets repeated long enough to become expected. And if the leader is leading from armor, that armor starts shaping the room. If the leader never shows uncertainty, the team learns uncertainty is unsafe. If the leader never admits struggle, the team learns that struggles should be hidden. If the leader is always performing strength, the team learns strength must be performed. If the leader rewards polish more than truth, people start managing perceptions instead of naming realities. If the leader avoids vulnerability, the culture becomes allergic to honesty. Not because anyone planned it this way, but because the armor became the blueprint That's how cultures become cold without meaning to. This is how teams become guarded without even realizing it. This is how organizations become full of intelligent, capable, high-performing people who are quietly hiding from each other. I mean, everyone looks competent, everyone sounds professional, everyone stays composed, everyone keeps the meeting moving. But underneath all that polish, people are just protecting, right? They're protecting their image, protecting their role, protecting their reputation, protecting their access, protecting their sense of value. People are protecting themselves from being seen as too much, not enough, uncertain, emotional, weak, needy, difficult, wrong, or even just human. And that is not real culture. That is collective armor. And collective armor is exhausting because now everyone is performing. Everyone is watching. Everyone is measuring. Everyone is editing themselves in real time. Everyone is so focused on trying to stay acceptable. And everyone is trying to make sure that they won't be the one who cracks the image. Listen, that kind of culture may look productive for a while, for some amount of time even, and it might even get good results. It might produce real results, but let me tell you, that rarely produces trust. It rarely produces real creativity, and it rarely produces honest feedback. I mean, we can just throw clean communication out the window because it rarely produces the kind of safety that's required for conversation, for real growth. Listen, growth requires exposure. Growth requires truth. Growth requires the ability to say, this is not working, or this is unclear, or I need help, or oh my gosh, I made a mistake, or I don't know yet. Armor can't say those things easily. Armor would rather stay impressive than be honest. And this is why recalibration cannot stay superficial. You cannot fix a culture of armor by telling people to communicate better. That doesn't work. I mean, you can't fix everyone's guardness with another engagement survey to understand what's happening. You can't fix protection patterns with a team building exercise because there's no trust. It's not going to work. And you can't tell people to be authentic inside a system that rewards performance over truth. You have to go beneath the behavior. You have to identify the actual pattern because the behavior is only the evidence. The pattern is the source. People have learned that performance is safer than presence, that looking capable is safer than actually being honest, that staying polished is safer than naming the pressure they're under. People have learned that achievement is safer than vulnerability. And unfortunately, that pattern does not stay at work. It's not like your armor clocks in at 9 and clocks out at 5. It doesn't punch a clock. Armor doesn't understand business hours. So, armor follows you home. It's not just something that happens at the office. It sits next to you at the dinner table. It answers your text. It goes to church. It walks into your friendships. It enters your marriage. It parents your children. It attends networking events, it records podcasts, it posts on LinkedIn, it keeps going because it has forgotten how not to. This is how your armor becomes your second skin. And the longer you wear it, the harder it becomes to know where the performance ends and the person begins. You can start to lose yourself inside the version of you that everyone else depends on. The capable one, the strong one, the responsible one, the successful one, the one who always finds a way, the one who can seemingly always handle more. Or maybe it's the one who doesn't need to be held because they're so busy holding everything and everyone else. And eventually, the question underneath the exhaustion is no longer, oh my God, why am I so dang tired? Instead, it becomes, who am I without this? Who am I without the role? Who am I without the applause? Who am I without being needed? Or who am I without the proof? And the scariest one, who am I without the performance? This is where it gets tender because for a lot of leaders, removing the armor does not feel freeing at first. In fact, for most people, removing the armor feels terrifying because the armor has been mistaken for identity for so long. And if the armor comes off, it can feel like everything that made you valuable is suddenly at risk. Oh my gosh. When the armor falls away, you start worrying about your competence, your respect, your importance. You start questioning and worrying about your place in the room, your ability to be loved, to be trusted, your ability to belong. In fact, this is such an intense experience. It's why so many leaders say they want freedom. You hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. People say they want freedom, but unconsciously they keep building systems that require them. I hear it all the time. They say they want the business to function without them. But being needed has become such a part of how they know they matter. So even though they say they want people to take ownership, there's a fear. Because if others fully take ownership, then the leader has to confront who they are when they are no longer at the center. I hear it all the time. People say, I want rest. I need rest. But rest removes the evidence that they are valuable. Or I hear this a lot too. They say they want connection. But connection requires the very vulnerability that the armor was already built to avoid. That is a lot of tension. We want freedom, but we fear what freedom will reveal. We want intimacy, but we fear actually being seen. We want trust, but we keep performing. We want our cultures to feel safe, but we model armor and call it leadership. This is the veil I want to pull back because performance as armor can make a person look powerful while quietly keeping them afraid. Man, it keeps you being afraid of being ordinary, of being criticized, of being misunderstood, of being exposed, of being less needed. It keeps you afraid of being fully known. And when fear wears the costume of excellence, that can go undetected for years. That's the dangerous part. Not because excellence is wrong. In fact, excellence is not the issue. Achievement isn't even the issue. Drive isn't the issue. The question is not, are you performing? The question is, what is your performance protecting? Is it protecting your purpose? Or is it protecting your pain? Is it expressing your fire? Or is it hiding your fear? Is it creating connection? Or is it creating distance? Is it building culture? Or teaching everyone else how to armor up too? That's the real diagnostic. Because what I know to be true is that purpose-driven fire and performance-driven fire do not feel the same. Purpose-driven fire has breath in it. Performance-driven fire has panic in it. Purpose-driven fire can rest. Performance-driven fire feels guilty when it slows down. Purpose-driven fire creates warmth, where performance-driven fire creates pressure. Purpose-driven fire invites people to be closer to you. Performance-driven fire keeps people at arm's length all the time. Purpose-driven fire says, hey, I'm here. Performance-driven fire says, please don't see too much of me. I want to remain invisible. And I think this is where faith becomes more than a belief system. Faith becomes an operating system. Not faith as performance, not faith as perfection, not faith as having all of the right words. Faith as trust. Trust that your humanity will not disqualify you. Trust that being seen will not destroy you. Trust that your value is not dependent on your output. Trust that your worth is not negotiated through achievement. Trust. Trust that you do not have to perform your way into belonging. Trust that you're light. Trust that your light does not have to be hidden behind polish to be safe. That is a deeper kind of faith, because performance says, prove it, while faith says, know it. Performance says, earn it. Faith says, receive it. Performance says, hide what might be judged. And faith says, let the truth breathe. Performance says, stay protected, armor up. Faith says, you can be present now. And presence is the opposite of armor. Presence does not mean you overshare. It does not mean you collapse. It does not mean you stop leading. Presence means you stop hiding behind the version of you that was built to survive. And it means your leadership no longer has to be filtered through protection. It means your strength no longer has to come at the expense of your softer side. It means your competence no longer has to erase your humanity. It means your culture no longer has to reward distance and call it professionalism. Because when a leader begins removing armor, culture feels it. The room changes, conversations change, permission changes. People stop performing perfection and start telling the truth. Not all at once, not dramatically. Takes a little bit of time. This isn't for the faint of heart. It takes some practice. But steadily, slowly but surely, with practice and time, the leader becomes less guarded. The culture becomes less cold. The team becomes less afraid to name what's real. And the work, oh my gosh, the work becomes less performative. So that means that the relationships become more honest. The organization begins to move from image management to truth management. And that's where calibration begins. It's not on the surface. It's not with a slogan. It's not with another values poster, but at the pattern level, where protection has been mistaken for professionalism, where distance has been mistaken for strength, where armor has been mistaken for leadership. So maybe this episode is not asking whether or not you are successful, because you probably are. But maybe it's also not asking whether or not you are capable, because again, you probably are. Maybe it's not even asking whether or not you are strong, because I know that you have likely had to be for way too long. Maybe the question is deeper than that. What has your strength been protecting? What has your performance been hiding? What kind of culture has your armor created? And if the armor came off, would you still know who you are? Because maybe the goal is not to stop achieving. Maybe the goal is to stop disappearing behind the achievement. Maybe the goal is not to dim your light so it feels safer. Maybe the goal is to trust that your light can be seen without needing armor around it. Yeah. And maybe the real revelation is this. The armor that once protected you may now be the very thing preventing people from experiencing the real you. From experiencing the real you at work, at home, in leadership, in relationship, in purpose, in faith, in fire, in frequency. So I'll leave you with this. If performance has become your armor, and likely for most of us it has, but if performance has become your armor, what would it take to finally let yourself be seen?
Leadership isn't what you perform, it's what you embody. If this conversation resonated, share it with someone ready to lead differently. And remember, when your faith ignites your fire amplifies your frequency. Until next time.